This is the latest edition of Front Up, and I'm Whitey Willauer, and I've got an interesting, great guest today, Peter Sutro. Peter, how are you?
Hello, Whitey. How are you?
Very well, very well. Now, I gather you're a big, big bridge player. And what is bridge?
Bridge is the most popular card game, I guess, in the world, next to poker, perhaps. And more people play it than in this country anyway, but now all over the world. The Chinese play it in Europe. Of course, the Italians were famous for some shifty business at the bridge table. They were accused of anyway, many years ago. But on Nantucket, it's growing in popularity. And I think a lot of it is really Bobby Sylvia's doing. Because 20 years ago or so, there were small groups of people who played bridge, mainly elderly, like my mother, who since passed away. In fact, they all since passed away. And Bobby, they all convinced Bobby to start a bridge class at the high school. And she's taught any number of, I think, 50 or more people who are now currently playing good bridge.
Mm-hmm. What's the objective of the game?
The objective of the game is to win.
To win?
To win.
Do you play for money?
We play for very little money. On a bad day, you can lose $1.
Really?
On a good day, you might win to $1. But it's not, and we pay off to the nickel. I mean, we really pay our debts.
But what's the attraction?
The attraction, it passes the time. It's very good for your Alzheimer's because it keeps your brain active. And it's fun. It's fun and it's challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And years ago, 20 years ago or so, the Stencils, who are no longer on the island, started a bridge duplicate tournament. Duplicate is where you play the same hand all the way around. Everybody plays the same hand, and then you compare scores at the end.
So you know what the hand is as you move around?
Yeah, but you don't know what the previous result has been.
Oh, okay.
And they started at their home. There were six tables, 24 people, and they eventually moved off island. So I took over, and we did it at the Fairgrounds restaurant for a while. Every Tuesday of the month, the first Tuesday of every month. And then we changed houses. From Milk Street, we moved to Vessel Street, and we purposely built a room in the basement with an elevator going down to it, which holds six or maybe 8 tables of bridge, and of course you can have other activities there. But mainly it's the bridge room. And we have more or less really the same people who started 17 years ago. Some have died, not too many. Some have moved, but basically they're the same people who started 17 years ago.
And now, are you one of the better bridge players on the island?
I like to think that. But we have some very good bridge players, excellent bridge players.
Mm-hmm.
We have people. Now, there's a lot of other bridge goes on the island now. The Salt Marsh has three days a week. They have a tournament on every Tuesday. And I think there's just plain regular bridge 2 other days of the week, and then there are other venues where they play. There's a lot of bridge that goes on the island. The clubs, the Westmore has a pretty active bridge program. They have an expert come every year for 3 days and give bridge lessons or a bridge talk. And I would have to guess there's a couple of hundred, maybe more, people who play bridge regularly.
I asked my mother why she played bridge. And she said, well, I like to meet with my friends and I run out of things to talk to them about, so we play bridge. And that's probably a good idea, but I wouldn't play bridge. I don't have enough time to do that.
Well, you have to make time.
Yeah.
You have to stop doing other things.
Other things. Yeah.
No, what happened, everybody says, if you ask, at least in the old days, you'd say, do you play bridge? They'd say, well, I used to play in college, but we just playing by the seat of our pants. We really didn't know the rules, and so we stopped doing it after college. And now that I understand there are all these conventions and we don't know them, and so we don't play anymore. That's why Bobby really started to teach, because there are conventions, but they're not that difficult to learn, and they're not that difficult to play. So she got a lot of people who had played bridge at one time or another in their college days.
Did you play in your college days?
No, yeah, I did. I almost flunked out of Yale because of that. But I was actually started because during the war, when, as you know, we lived in Washington, and I went to St. Albans School, and it was my father, my mother, and my aunt. And I'd come home from school. I was 8 years old, 9 years old, and they'd say, "You got a lot of homework, Peter?" And I'd say, "Well, I have a little homework." "Well, hurry up, we need you."
Peter, you say you in D.C. your family was there during the war. What were they doing there during the war?
Well, we lived in Italy, in Florence, until the war broke out, and we moved back here in early '41 before Pearl Harbor, and my half brother had a house in Georgetown, in Washington, and he was in the Army, so he went off to war, and we got the house, and so that's how it happened to be Washington.
But you grew up in Florence?
I grew up in Florence. Yes.
You speak Italian?
Yes, I do. Fluently. It was my first language.
Oh, okay, but you don't even have an accent now.
No, I spoke it, and my father didn't speak Italian, so I spoke English to him and Italian to the rest of the world.
I see, yeah.
So,
did they play bridge in Italy?
oh yes, very, very popular.
So let's do some more about his background. His Nantucket connection. You know it. We don't know who he is at all. So people want to know about him.
Okay, what happened?
Well, wait a minute. Let Whitey. So what else? Just a very quick little question.
Okay, Peter. How did you from D.C. get to Nantucket? I mean, how did that happen?
Well, what happened was my parents moved back from Italy in '52, and my father died shortly thereafter, and my mother visited, was Italian, 100% Italian, visited Nantucket and loved it. And she bought the house on Gorham's Court, which you probably remember. It had that big, huge living room, the stage that Judy Seinfeld has now. And she bought this huge room. It was a theater with a stage and scenery and all that. And that was her bridge room. And she would entertain daily, practically, her friends, and they'd play bridge. I think Elizabeth Murray was one of them, and she loved Nantucket, and she really did not like going back to Italy, and went under duress would go back to Italy. She started the Arts Council here.
Oh, really?
And ran it with an iron fist. She was called Mussolini sometimes, but
when did she start the Arts Council?
Oh, yeah, Reggie was a small child when she started it back in, I don't know, actually. I don't think
Yeah.
But she was head of it, and I would have to say, and Walter Beinecke was a whole group that started, and it had to be in the 70s or the 80s. It was.
Then how come you ended up on Nantucket? Because
when we lived in Italy for a while, Marina and I, and we lived in New Jersey for 17 years, and then we moved back to Italy. Our daughters were born in Italy, and then we decided that was we wanted to move back to the States, and we couldn't think of any place. We knew New Jersey was not where we wanted to move back to, so nothing wrong with New Jersey. And mother was still alive, and one of our daughters is still living here, lived here, and so we decided to move to Nantucket.
And you're here year-round now.
We're here. I have not been even to Hyannis in over a year.
Oh, really?
I had a little medical problem two years ago, and I see absolutely no reason to go off island unless it's a medical reason, which luckily it hasn't been, because the Cottage Hospital takes very good care of me. The Florida has no attraction to me, and so I'm very happy here.
Now, do you play bridge down at the Salt Marsh Center?
We play bridge once a week at the Salt Marsh Center.
And how about other places? Do you play other places?
We play at home when you just four of us, and sometimes we got full blown 6 tables, 24.
How often would you have 6 tables?
Once a month.
First of the month.
Yeah. Second.
Start out.
Well, as I say, Bob stopped doing teaching, but there are other people who play regularly. He adopted one of them.
If I start this late in life, it's sort of like baseball or something like that. You gotta start young.
Baseball, or playing, or just being interested in baseball. No, I think I mean, anybody can learn. It's complicated. I mean, it's not like playing hearts or something like that, but or gin rummy.
Yeah.
But it's a very rewarding pastime.
So you have to have certain qualities.
Well, you have to be able to count to 13.
13. I don't have that many fingers.
Well,
and so you've got to be able to count your cards.
Count your cards.
Memorize, so that's good to keep your memory active.
They say it's very good to prevent the onset of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Along with crossword puzzles, both of which I'm addicted to.
Oh, I see.
So I'll never have Alzheimer's. I'll die of something else. But
well, I can see we've just about used up all of our time. Have I asked enough questions about the game of bridge?
Well, I don't know. It's a complicated. You know, to go into detail would be difficult. About but it's an excellent game, and a lot of people are playing it.
Is there? Do you know all the bridge players on the island, or are you all?
Not all of them, but there's certainly a lot of them. I think the oldest we have around is Harry Fraker.
Harry
plays 3 times a week.
Come on.
Oh, I'm serious. He plays.
How good is he?
At the Salt Marsh, he's pretty good. Pretty good.
He's 94 years old.
4 years old.
That's great.
I think he probably is the oldest regular player.
Well, there's hope for me yet.